Happy Sunday, everybody, and welcome to the Golden Days. The Warriors training camp is around the corner. I just can't even contain my excitement. I'm so pumped I can't even talk right now. Tomorrow is media day, and then immediately after the players, coaches, execs, schmooze with schleps like me, they're going to get on a plane and go to the beautiful Hawaii Islands, where they're going to have training camp all next week, culminating with their first preseason game against the Clippers on Friday. Folks, it's here. All the waiting, the excruciating month, 2 months, we've all been patiently abiding for the Golden State Warriors in basketball to come back, at least the NBA. It's here, folks. The training camp roster is set. I'm going to break that down for you. Mike Dunleavy Jr. addressed the media. I'm going to play a couple clips from him pertaining specifically to whether or not this team is done focusing on maximizing the window of Stephen Curry's future. He said some interesting things. We're all going to hear about it. Next, it's the Golden Days. Oh, wait. It's the Golden Days.
They always find something to nitpick, and that's because there's expectations for us to win. It was a pretty crazy night.
Let's go.
In a minute, I'ma need a sentimental man or woman to pump me up. Come on and break me off. 'Cause I get what I want and I like what I see. If you got
Oh, yeah, baby. How about the Niners? Welcome, everybody, to the Golden Days. I'm your host, Cyrus Saatsaz. You can follow me on Threads and Instagram at DogWild, over on Elon's cesspool of a platform called Twitter. At least I'm going to call it Twitter forever and ever. You can follow me there at Surf Journalist. And the program is on all social media platforms at Golden Days Pod. AP Prep Boy adding to the first preseason game next Saturday, October 5th. Did I say Friday? I feel like I heard myself say that. I don't know if I did. It is Saturday, October 5th. And again, AP Prep Boy 33 mentioning it's at 4 p.m. What is that Hawaii time? Is that like 2 p.m., 1 p.m.? Whatever it is. The folks are going to drink some Mai Tais. They're going to lay by the beach, fit some basketball in. Good times. The best part about holding training camp at Hawaii is the chemistry building, the camaraderie. When you travel with people, there is some bonding happening. There is some communication. There are some relationships building. It's a good thing, folks, especially when you are a team and not a bunch of individuals focusing on themselves. I'm really excited for that. Do2 in the chat, getting to business right away, saying the Warriors could have traded Draymond Green for Dante DiVincenzo and Isaiah Hartenstein last year, or Draymond plus a piece, but they're trapped by the past. I don't know if I would have done that trade, in all honesty. I don't know if that would be a move that would be beneficial for the Warriors. And the fact that you wrote that now makes me want to pull up a soundbite. I'm going to see if I can find it pertaining to the Warriors and how much they find Draymond Green important for this coming season. I'm going to try to find that sound clip in just a moment. Yeah, Steve Kerr actually said it. I just found it. Thank you for the inspiration. But ultimately, look, I understand that a lot of people are not fans of Draymond, especially given the Jordan Poole incident, all the suspensions, the antics, the fact that he sometimes cannot control his emotions. I get it. But this team is not winning any of its 4 titles without him. If they want to win a 5th title, they're not winning one without him. He's still very much a solid player. So, and I really don't think that trade would have made a positive difference for this Golden State Warriors team. But anyways, I digress. Let's get into the rosters. Let's get into everything that's on the docket for today's show. But first and foremost, got to give some love to the official sponsor of the Golden Days, and that is Bet Online, the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. Yes, right now, football is king, and so are the San Francisco 49ers, at least for today. I know they beat a hapless New England Patriots squad, but still, a win is a win. clean play out there. A hell of a catch by Kittle in the end zone for one of those touchdowns. Matt Owen, Brock Purdy looking good. Great win for the Niners. And BetOnline, I hope you won some money betting on them. BetOnline is every stat, every matchup, even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. And if you think you know your stuff, if you're one of those cocky mofos out there that is out constantly telling other people you know more than them, put your money where your mouth is and get in on a $200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of $200,000. And when the game's over, create that casino ambiance. Kick back, put your feet up, pour yourself a stiff one, light them up if you got them, and head to the online casino. Get in on a game of blackjack, poker, or unwind with one of over 150 slot games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Bet online. The game starts here. The chat is pumped up. Do too. Look at you. Are you someone else? Is that a new handle? Writing, love that you're juiced for the season. I am, man, but I love basketball. Let me fix that real fast. And you think the Dubs will be average at best? We shall see. I'm not disagreeing with you on that notion, but I also don't think that if they had traded Draymond Green for DiVincenzo and Hardenstein, that their fate would be any different. And again, I'm guessing you just have an issue with Draymond. I get it. He's pissed a lot of people off. He's certainly on thin ice, I think, with the NBA as a whole, never mind the Golden State Warriors. And you bring up the fact that you would have made that trade because of Draymond's bad back. Maybe. I mean, fortunately, it has not hampered him outside of missing those nearly 3 months. What was that, 2 years ago, a year ago? But regardless, I totally feel you. I get it. And we'll see what happens, man. Let's hope we get the best out of Draymond this year. You know, Steph, a huge reason why Draymond is still with the Warriors. Just to clear it up, in case people wonder, it's because of Stephen Curry. He is Steph's enforcer, man. He is his bodyguard on the court out there. They also play beautiful basketball together. The symmetry is borderline perfect, especially when they run the pick and roll together. So he still has worth for this team and in the NBA. He's still a fantastic defender, still an excellent offensive facilitator, but for the 10th time, I get what you're saying. I get it. The Warriors training camp roster is set. And why don't I show you a visual of this for the YouTube viewers? And for the podcast, I'll try to articulate as best I can. Most of these names you will be familiar with. A few might sound brand spanking new to you. Kyle Anderson is obviously a member of the training camp. He's under a guaranteed deal. He was one of the huge acquisitions by the team this offseason. His role is pivotal to this squad, and he's one of the few guys that brings height to this team. If you can see this visual clear enough on the YouTube screen, and I get that it's small. Let me see if I could... No, I cannot zoom in. That's unfortunately. You will see that Kyle Anderson at 6'9" is tied for being the second tallest player on this roster. The only man taller than Kyle Anderson and Kevon Looney, who's also listed as 6'9", is Quentin Post, who a couple days ago was signed to a two-way deal replacing Daquan Plowden. Post stands 7 feet in height. Very excited to see how he turns up this season, what his productivity will be. But again, the roster, Kyle Anderson at 6'9", Reese Beekman, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year in the ACC, now a member of the Golden State Warriors, an undrafted rookie. He's got the two-way deal. He stands 6'1". He's on the roster. Stephen Curry, let's hope he makes the team. I know he's on the training camp roster, but he's got a lot to prove. I'm obviously being... I'm joking. Draymond Green is a clear invite. Buddy Hield is an invite. I'm a little surprised that Buddy Hield's listed playing height is 6'4". I've always thought of him as like a 6'6", 6'7" dude, but he is 6'4", one of the best shooters in the game, and let's hope he makes up for Klay Thompson's absence. Trace Jackson Davis, the team's likely starting center this season, is on the roster, and he's listed at 6'8". I thought he was like 6'9", 6'10", but at least according to the Warriors, his playing height is listed at 6'8". Blake Hinson, I know nothing about him. Training camp invite. 6'7" guard, so we bring size to the team. Kevin Knox, we mentioned him. He got invited a few days ago, in the show. He got invited as a training camp invitee. Knox at 6'7", in the Warrior system would be seen as a big if he makes the team. Jonathan Kuminga, huge year for him. Kevon Looney is back. According to what Looney has posted on social media and what a couple of reports have said about him, he's working on his shooting. He's leaned up a little bit, taking that Joga to the next level. So Kevon Looney is back with the team. DeAnthony Melton, a huge pickup for the Golden State Warriors. Very curious to see how he looks in training camp. He stands 6'3". Moses Moody is back. Let's hope he gets some playing time. He's listed as 6'5". Gary Payton II, let's hope he's durable and healthy this season. He's listed at 6'3". Brandon Pajemski, who I predict will be a starter, but I have no clue. But the second-year guard stands 6'4". He's an invite. Quentin Post, I mentioned a moment ago, recently got a two-way contract replacing Daquan Plowden. I'll talk about that in just a second. Quentin Post will be a training camp invite. He stands 7 feet tall. Jackson Rowe, who I believe played on the Santa Cruz squad last year, a forward, listed at 6'7". He is going to, or maybe he's just a rookie. I don't know. He's listed as a rookie on this sheet. I thought he spent some time with Santa Cruz, but maybe I'm thinking of Summer League. I digress. So Jackson Rowe will be a training camp invitee. Guy Santos, who, as I've mentioned before, does not have a guaranteed contract, even though he does have a contract, but the Warriors could cut him at any point without any ramifications, stands 6'7". Guy Santos, who I love this kid. I think he can play. I hope he gets a good run. He is a training camp invite. Pat Spencer, a two-way player, listed as 6'3", former lacrosse player of the year, now a basketball standout for the Warriors. He's got one of those two-way deals. Lindy Waters III, another player who I still have not confirmed it. The information is hard to gather on his part, but I got from the Warriors themselves, I got a most likely, not a guaranteed contract, meaning Lindy Waters III, who is listed as 6'6" on this Warriors roster. That's tall. He's a training camp invite, but again, his contract not guaranteed. And my prediction is if anyone gets cut who's currently on the team to get replaced, let's say Kevin Knox, the team falls in love with him, they want to add him to the roster. My prediction is Lindy Waters will be the first one to go. Former Oklahoma City Thunder guard. And last but not least, Andrew Wiggins, who stands 6'7", the man who everyone is hoping reverts to his 2022 All-Star form. If that beast of an individual comes back, the Warriors' chances drastically improve. So that is your training camp roster. The height, all those heights I mentioned are without shoes. Stephen Curry, important to note, listed at 6'3". Some people list him as 6'2". From what I've gathered over the years, my understanding is he's in that 6'2.5", 6'2 3/4 range. So without shoes, you round up to 6'3". With shoes, Stephen Curry is an even 6'3". Daquan Plowden. And I'm sorry if I'm missing what's going on in the chat right now. I hope you folks, I see a lot of comments in there. I hope you folks are having fun. Daquan Plowden, by the way, signed with the Atlanta Hawks, and it's a training camp contract from what I understand, with a full possibility of making that team. And look, Daquan Plowden would actually see some playing time with the Atlanta Hawks. So good for him to go to Atlanta. I know a lot of people love him. I just don't have a strong opinion either way. I know he played some fantastic basketball in summer league, showed tremendous athleticism. His shot was even falling, which was a massively huge positive. But the Warriors, I mean, look, they're again, a lot of puzzling moves this offseason, which I think boiled down to that Paul George sign and trade not happening. I mean, you think back to the summer, Andrew Wiggins being pulled off the Team Canada roster. You look at the fact that they had no salary cap room to add Quentin Post. You look at the fact that they signed Daquan Plowden to a two-way deal, and then 2 months later, he's off of it because they had no idea how else to add Quentin Post. And yeah, it's just unfortunate in regards to Plowden. But yeah, he's no longer with the team. It's kind of a bummer. But as AP Prep Boy, who's dominating the chat today, is writing right now, the Warriors are loaded with wings. I mean, I don't even know how Lindy Waters gets minutes. I don't even know how Moses Moody gets minutes. I don't know how Gary Payton II gets minutes. That's undoubtedly Steve Kerr's biggest challenge this year, is managing this roster that's just stacked with wings. But again, it's a roster that he manages. I know he's not technically the GM, but his fingers are all over that roster. Do not fool yourself if you think he is staying out of the way in terms of roster construction. So that is your training camp roster for the Golden State Warriors. And I wanted to play some sound bites real fast because a few days ago, Mike Dunleavy Jr. made himself available to the Golden State Warriors. I'm sorry. He made himself available to the press in terms of answering some questions. I mean, look, Bob Myers would not regularly hold press conferences. Mike Dunleavy Jr. does not regularly hold press conferences. So when they do, it's a big deal. I mean, you like these individuals who hold this power to be held accountable in any manner possible. And answering questions from the media is one of those means. So Mike Dunleavy Jr. was speaking to the press again just a couple days ago. This was before the Karl Anthony Towns trade, which is unfortunate because undoubtedly there would have been a trade or two coming in regards to why the Warriors were not one of the teams pursuing him. I mean, he's a player who would have been perfect on this Warriors roster, but it didn't happen. So what are you going to do? And I've said this before and I've said it again. I just said this on yesterday's show with Mark Haynes. By the way, side note, if you want a complete definitive breakdown of the NBA's 30 teams and who's starting, who's closing, and regular season over-unders. I did this with Larry Krueger, who, by the way, him and I are going to be hosting a weekly thing very soon. Stay tuned for that. I think Tuesday, him and I are going to record together. And then there's going to be a set day and time each week where we have a Warriors show right here on this channel. But yesterday, Mark Haynes and I spent 2 hours covering every team. So if you want to learn about the NBA this coming season and what all the other teams are up to, go watch yesterday's show. It's 2 hours. It's long. I apologize for that, but it was fun and very detailed. Here, first up, the first soundbite I want to play for each and every one of you is Mike Dunleavy Jr. talking about maximizing Stephen Curry's window. And what I mean by that is Stephen Curry's 36 years old, and he just proved yet again from the Olympics, the guy's still at the peak of his powers. He's still one of the best players in the NBA. You can still have him as your focal point for winning championship basketball. Unfortunately for Stephen Curry, at this point in time, again, because of that Paul George trade falling through, because of the Lauri Markkanen trade not happening, they have yet to maximize surrounding Stephen Curry with the talent he needs to lead the Warriors to glory. And thankfully, someone asked Mike Dunleavy Jr. about that. And why don't we hear from the relatively new GM of the Golden State Warriors on maximizing the future and the present of Stephen Curry's limited window remaining playing in the NBA?
There's the narrative out there that you guys need to do everything possible to maximize Steph's remaining years to play for championships. How much conversation do you have had to have with him to sort of share the vision of what you're trying to do and make him and everybody comfortable with the idea that you're actually trying to do that?
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of dialogue about it. I mean, we unequivocally are trying to, maximize, his greatness, Draymond's greatness, and all the resources that we have. So those conversations are really positive, productive. They know the drill, and we'll keep pursuing that. But as I said before, there's a level of discipline that you have to have, and not gonna. There's no point in going all in to be slightly above average. We're going to go all in. You got to feel like you're all in. So that's how we'll kind of judge and evaluate things. And, we'll see what's there.
And look, you can't argue against that philosophy, right? You don't want to give up assets and lose a trade or give up the future for a present that's going to be mediocre, average at best. I get it. With that said, you can't just sit back and just wait for perfection, right? There's an old adage that perfect is the enemy of the good, meaning if you refuse to settle, if you are constantly striving for perfection, you're going to miss out on a lot of good things in the process. It's a philosophy for life, and it could be a philosophy for running a basketball team as well. And so we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. There wasn't a single person who predicted the Karl Anthony Towns trade to the Knicks. A lot of these negotiations are happening in closed door meetings, phone calls that no one else is listening to. So who knows what teams exactly the Warriors are communicating with. If the speculation is true again that Lauri Markkanen could have been had and that Brandon Podziemski was the holdup, that was a risk. That was a huge risk that the Warriors took. It puts, unfortunately, a lot of pressure on Brandon Podziemski because you just basically denied giving Stephen Curry a 7-footer who's aggressive, who can space the floor by shooting the three, who can play in the post. I mean, Lauri Markkanen would have been a perfect fit. And so if those stories are true, Picky Steve strikes again, right? And that's my moniker I've given Steve Kerr because, and I don't know if he's super picky because he's just had one too many bad experiences. I don't know if, the JaVale McGee's, the Boogie Cousins, the Kelly Oubre's, I don't know if that just wore him down to a nub and he just doesn't want to deal with players that just will not acquiesce to his exact environment that he's looking for. And who knows if maybe Kerr's philosophy behind all this is just protecting Stephen Curry, if he's being like a protective father. And in this case, maybe if that's true, maybe he's being overprotective of Stephen Curry. But regardless, let's hope they do something, because I do agree with those of you out there who think this roster as currently constructed is not good enough. Is it good enough to make the playoffs? Maybe. Is it good enough to maximize Steph's window? And when we say that, we're really meaning more championships? Probably not. It's a small team. It's very wing heavy. My biggest concern with this roster as currently constructed is how are you going to beat bigger teams and shut them down defensively? Meaning when other teams are constantly pounding the ball in the paint, when they're constantly backing defenders down for easy 2 points, you're not only putting a lot of pressure and strain and wear on your defense doing that, but that strain and pressure and wear is going to negatively affect you offensively. Shots don't fall as easily when you're tired. And that's one of many reasons why size helps. It's easy buckets. It's less strain on individuals who are, because you're larger, right? Like it's just, you're not getting physically beat up out there. So I'm a little concerned about the size of this team. And I know I sound like a broken record saying that. But if there is good news, is that the Warriors clearly want to do something. And let's hope it happens. Let's hope it's a great player. And I still don't think Mike Dunleavy Jr. Is going to do nothing. I don't think Joel Lacob's going to do nothing. They've shown that they're willing to do something. The question is what? We'll see. Real quickly, I want to play a Steve Kerr soundbite because someone at the beginning of the show, and I'm not criticizing this individual. I can't see where you are now. Was it Doobie-Doo2 was talking about how he wished Draymond Green would have been traded for Isaiah Hartenstein and Donte DiVincenzo. Well, Steve Kerr took the podium right after Mike Dunleavy Jr. During that press conference a couple days ago. And let's hear from Steve Kerr in terms of Draymond Green's value this season. Those two have a fascinating relationship. It wasn't that long ago that Draymond Green was calling Steve Kerr out for benching Jason Tatum in the Olympics. Here is Kerr on Draymond Green's value.
Steve, we know the season that Draymond had last year. What's the communication been like with him this offseason, and where's your guys' level of trust with him?
Yeah, I just talked to him just a few minutes ago before I came up here, and it's great to see him. I didn't see much of him. I saw him in Paris briefly, but we always give Draymond a lot of space in the summer, and he's excited for the season. I thought he had a good year last year when he was on the floor, but obviously we missed him during the suspension, and so we've got to do everything we can to help Draymond have another good year, but make sure this team is on the right path for all 82 games.
And so there was Steve Kerr's comment on Draymond Green. I also want to address real fast the comment in the chat from AB Prep Boy saying that Podziemski did not make the decision in regards to Lauri Markkanen in that trade. You're absolutely right. The pressure that will be placed on Podziemski to perform is not fair. I'm not saying that I'm going to be putting pressure on Podziemski. No, there's nothing fair about the pressure that the Warriors, by making this decision, have inadvertently placed on Brandon Podziemski. But he's now looked upon as a guy on this roster who, based on the Warriors' decisions, carries more value ultimately than Lauri Markkanen. And I understand other pieces were going to be included in that trade. I know first-round picks were part of the deal, but whether or not it's fair, whether or not it's justified, that is how a lot of people are going to be looking at Brandon Podziemski now. They're looking at him as someone who the Warriors value more than Lauri Markkanen. So whether it's fair or not, that pressure will be there, which does kind of suck. And Portola 45, I'm absolutely laughing at the fact that you wrote that Kerr wouldn't trade Guy Santos for Jason Tatum at this point. That is awesome. Moving on. There is one other Mike Dunleavy Jr. clip I wanted to play on today's show. And this was in regards to staying on the same theme of maximizing Stephen Curry's window. This was in regard to maximizing that window. Sorry to be redundant. More specifically, in regards to an in-season trade. The Warriors are not known for doing that. They're most infamously known in terms of in-season trades for pulling the Wiggins trade, where D'Angelo Russell was included. They got the first-round pick that netted them Jonathan Kuminga. That was the exception, not the rule for how the Warriors operate. With that said, given where the Warriors are now, it could be very necessary for them to make the trade in season. They failed in the offseason. They're waiting for the right deal. They're possibly being picky. Fine, right? I mean, you don't want to lose a trade. You want to win a trade. I get that. But waiting forever could burn you as well. So in all likelihood, if they're going to make a deal, it's going to happen in the season, which again goes against what they're normally accustomed to. And here's Mike Dunleavy Jr., the GM of the Golden State Warriors, talking about the team possibly pulling a midseason trade.
How flexible do you feel to make an in-season trade? And I guess the apron that you talked about, how much of an inhibit do you feel that will be? And then, do you plan to be aggressive?
Yeah, I mean, that's the deal here. You know, you're always looking to get better, improve your team. I think we've got a lot of ways to do that. We've got a lot of good basketball players, and then on top of it, we got most of our assets. So we got ways to improve. We'll be aggressive. That's kind of always been the deal here, at least as long as I've been here. So does that mean we're definitely going to do something? No. I mean, we were super aggressive last year around the deadline, didn't do a whole lot. So you got to have a partner. Making deals in this league can be tough, but the effort, the urgency will always be there.
And I'm not going to lie, I'm getting tired of this finger pointing at other teams. In other words, like making excuses for not pulling a trade, saying that you need another team to be a partner in a deal. Yeah, no shit, Captain Obvious. We know that you need other teams to go along with the negotiations, but that excuse will not work in a business environment. Like if you fail to make deals, you can't just come up with an excuse to your managing boss if you're being criticized for not making deals as, well, the other side wasn't playing along, so I couldn't do it. That is negotiating. It's an art. It's a skill. If you're the GM of a team, that is part of your job, is negotiating with other teams to facilitate transactions that improve your team ultimately. You have to make a trade based on this roster's construction. There is no doubting that. Stop pretending that you're not making deals because other teams are not willing to bend over for you. Get creative, all right? Use your acumen. Use your brilliance if you have it. Use your intelligence quotient to come up with deals, to use communication that will convince the other side to go along with what your goal is. I'm getting a little tired of the whole like making trades is hard. It ain't rocket science. What's hard is paying your damn mortgage. What's hard is supporting a family. What's hard is dealing with health issues. Pulling a goddamn trade, that is not difficult in perspective to the world and the challenges we have around us. It's getting old is what I'm trying to say, all right? We understand you need another team to make a deal. Doesn't mean it makes it impossible. Use your skills. Stop using other teams as an excuse to not make a trade and do your job. All right? Anyways, I'm sorry. I'm getting tired of hearing that as an excuse for the team not pulling a trade. It's just, yeah, no shit. Yeah. Obviously, other teams have to go along with the deal. That is your job. Negotiate. Make it happen. It's a results-driven world. It is not a hypothetical talk is cheap world. Anyways, moving on. Sorry for that diatribe there. And I love all of you as well. I'm saying thank you very much. So moving on. One last soundbite, and we're going to go back to the head coach Steve Kerr, because he talked about a player that is a wild card, is a variable that is unknown in this current season, and that is Mr. Andrew Wiggins. We talked about a few days ago about his father, Mitchell Wiggins, passing away, and who knows if that was the main reason for Andrew struggling these last 2 seasons, for the disappearing acts. I've heard other things as well. And again, I only had one source confirm it, which is why I ended up not running it on the other program. And then maybe that reason coincides with his family struggles. Who knows? The point is, let's hope that the Wiggins we see this year is better, is improved, is moving on from whatever has been hampering his play and his life these last 2 years after the championship. The great news that you're going to hear from this clip is that unlike last season, where Andrew Wiggins reportedly showed up out of shape, which is blatantly inexcusable. You're a professional athlete. You're the second highest paid player in the Warriors, and you show up to training camp out of shape. I don't care what your excuse is. That should not fly. And that is what happened. Great news this offseason. History's not repeating itself. So let's hear from Steve Kerr talking about the Andrew Wiggins that the Warriors will get this season. And let's really hope that the Wiggins of 2022 is back, because if that happens, whole different story about everything. But again, that is a huge if. Here is Steve Kerr.
Steve, Andrew was the first guy I was going to ask you about. I mean, you just brought up, he looks fantastic. Mike was saying that he can almost sense his hunger. Where are you seeing that specifically from Andrew?
Well, I mean, I've only seen him the last couple of days since he got back in town. But, number one, he looks physically really fit. I think he also looks, just speaking with him, he sounds very motivated. He's very much at peace. I think he's in a place where he knows the last couple of years have been tough for a lot of reasons, and I think he's primed to get back to where he was a couple of years ago. He's at the age where he's right in his physical prime, and we've seen him do it. He helped us win a championship. So I'm expecting a big year from Wiggs, and I think there's also a void that is left by Clay's absence that we need to fill. That's a lot of points to score, but it also means we have to rethink how we're doing things. And Wiggs will be featured for sure. He's a guy who's proven he's a 20-point a night guy, and we're going to be relying on him heavily.
Yeah, Wiggins has never proven he's a 20-point a night guy with the Warriors. But now that Klay Thompson is gone, that void needs to be filled by someone. A lot of people are assuming that it's going to be Jonathan Kuminga. Wiggins has proven he can score. Wiggins has proven he can be an offensive machine. That was with Minnesota. And he was also a shooting guard doing all that. He wasn't dealing with the pressure of defending power forwards. He wasn't dealing with the pressure of playing outside of his position. I want to see Wiggins a shooting guard. I've said that before. Someone asked me this, and by the way, I put the link in the chat if anyone wants to jump in, because do too. I love reading your comments here, and that's why I opened up the door. If you want to jump on the show for a few minutes and just talk about your feelings, because the gist I'm getting from this individual in the chat is that the team should have basically moved on from the old Golden State Warriors. That the problem with the Warriors is that they held on too long to the relics of the dynasty, and by not evolving, that they've been held back. And I can't disagree with it. If that's the gist of what you're saying, I can't disagree with the single notion of it. You're right. It's just easier said than done to actually move on from these types of players. It requires hard decisions. And this is where I feel like Steve Kerr has failed above all else, is his loyalty. And you heard that again in that clip right there, like bringing up Wiggins being a part of the championship, right? Move on, stay in the present. All right. That was 2 years ago. And Kerr, where he's failed, is just, clinging to that 2022 championship team. Ramona Shelburne did an excellent job reporting the dysfunction behind the scenes, which led to what I've been saying for 2 years, which led to Bob Myers leaving, is that Steve Kerr was clinging to these veterans that won that chip in 2022 instead of understanding that, like everything in life, change is a regular occurrence and you have to evolve. You have to progress. And they have not done that in a manner, in a rate, at a pace where they've kept up with everyone else. And you just heard that again. He still brings up Wiggins being a part of that 2022 championship. That's great. That was 2 years ago. That has very little relevancy to right now outside of the championship experience that Wiggins experienced. With that said, if that 2022 Wiggins comes back, Matt-on, I don't know what else to say. That's outside of Kuminga and Podziemski taking huge leaps in their game. If Wiggins can somehow flip around the regression of his game that's been going on for 5 years now, right? Ever since he's come to the Warriors, his scoring output every year, less. Every year. That's not hyperbole. That's reality. If he can flip that around, that is a massive bonus for the Golden State Warriors. It still does not address their front court issues, but the talent is there. We just have rarely seen it. Very curious to see if Wiggins of 22 comes back. Encouraging words from Kerr, but again, he clings to that team of 2 years ago, when the reality is, it's stay in the moment, right? Stay in the present. Anyways, I digress. Well, training camp again. It's here. The next time there's going to be a show, training camp will have started. Tomorrow is media day. I'm recording this. It is Sunday, 6:23 p.m. right now. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to Chase Center for media day. I'm going to try to score some interviews for this show. I bought this cool little mic kit, these little mini mics that connect to your phone. And the goal is to have players or coaches or execs hold these mics. I'll have another mic, and then you'll just see them being interviewed with pristine audio quality. That's the goal. We'll see if I can achieve that. But regardless, when you see me next on this program on Tuesday, training camp will be ongoing. I'll hopefully have some player interviews or coach interviews or exec interviews. What is Saya in the chat? Writing in all caps. Wiggins. I'm just going to repeat what this person just wrote. Wiggins. And again, when you say it in all caps, right, that usually means like you're yelling or you're really enthusiastic. Wiggins, GP2, Kuminga, Moody, 4, Giannis. And then there's like a line. So I'm guessing there's a break there. Steph, Hield, Knox, Draymond, Giannis. Then there's like another break there. Then Pods, Waters. Who's Kyle? Kyle Anderson, the slow-mo. Trace, Post. Then another line. Beekman. I really like this kid, by the way. If you wanted a successor for GP2, they might have found it there. Melton, Gee, Dante Scott. I don't know who that is. Dwight Howard. You're saying as a free agent pickup? So there you go. Oh, by the way, Portola 45 writes, when will they let you on the plane for Hawaii? If I pushed for that, I probably could have gone. I just never even thought of it. I got some access. I don't know what time yet. Tuesday, prep boy for the Tuesday show, TBD. Follow me on social media. I usually make those announcements. But 3 p.m. Pacific time has been the sweet spot for when I'm hosting the Tuesday shows with Sophia Jones or at 3 p.m. Pacific time. So at a minimum, expect me there. Oh yeah, Tuesday at 3 p.m. That's when you can count me, because Sophia Jones joins me every Tuesday for V for Valkyrie, where we do some WNBA discussions, and once a week we'll dedicate a good amount of time to the Golden State Valkyries. And then Doobie-Doo 2 is asking me in the chat, one day can I review the incredible moves that the Timberwolves GM, I forgot his name, they got him from Denver, has made. Keep in mind though, like, let me ask you this, Doobie Doo, before I go, and I'll give you a chance to reply. Do you feel like the Rudy Gobert trade was a huge success? Because I don't. I do not think that was a smart move. I thought they gave the house for a player who's incredibly one-dimensional, who's incredibly overrated for the one skill that he's ridiculously won 4 Defensive Player of the Year awards for. Because I don't think that was a great trade. I don't see the brilliance in that move. I also don't know if this Karl Anthony Towns trade was a brilliant move. I thought you could have done a lot better than Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo and a first-round pick that's top 13 protected. Damien in the chat real quickly writing that what happened to Lindy Waters? Nothing. He's just there. And hopefully we'll actually see him play in Summer League. And then we'll find out if he's going to make this team or not. Doobie Doo is also talking about Guy Santos and how Santos could be the Kirk Rambis of this team. Nice metaphor. Bruce Morrow saying that the Rudy Gobert trade was a fail and that because of that, they had to trade Karl Anthony Towns. Yeah, that's why again, Minnesota's a great team, but they're a great team because of Anthony Edwards. I don't know if the GM is worthy of an entire show for that. But again, I want to read a response from Doobie 2, and correct, it is Kurt Rambis. I was just literally I was pulling a Ron Burgundy there, just reading the teleprompter, in this case, the chat comments. So I apologize for that if I said something different. Yeah, of course, it's Kurt Rambis, the man with the goggles. All right. Are we good? Are we done? We'll be back at this Tuesday, 3 p.m. Sophia Jones. And I might make it a doubleheader Tuesday because, again, Larry Kruger and I, we're going to bring it back now that the basketball is here. I can't believe it. Basketball is here, folks. The long wait is over. Sai is asking who's still available for free agency. We'll save that for another show. There's still a few names out there, but nobody that moves the needle. Anyway, so all right. Thank you to the chat. Thank you to all of you as always. I don't exist without you. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. And next time we're doing this, training camp's on. That is effing awesome. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night. Hope you had a great weekend. Sorry tomorrow was Monday. That is rough. If you're listening to this on your Monday morning commute, stay strong, survive, and just know at least Warriors basketball is back. That is awesome. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.